Hi there, Heather Fiore with Freestay Nutrition. Today we're talking about honoring your hunger. And so hopefully you've already watched the video about ditching the diet mentality. And hopefully also you've made some progress in really challenging yourself and any of that thought process that comes into play with sort of that diet mentality, that thinking that kind of gets you bogged down when you're thinking about food and eating. And so the next step here is how to honor your hunger. So that's what we're going to get into today. So of course, as we talked about in the diet mentality video, the first rule of dieting is ignore your body, right? Your body doesn't know what's best for you. And so it can't be trusted. And so instead, you're going to override your body's signals with, all these rules that the whatever diet, lays out for you. And so what we are doing is reversing all of that and helping you to get back to trusting your body. So, so that instead of fighting your body for the rest of your life, that you're actually listening to it and, eating and not eating are more pleasant experiences. Like you're not just going to be thinking about food all the time because your body just is not getting what it needs. So the reality is your body knows what you need and knows how much you need to eat, and it knows when you need to eat, and you just need to listen. And it really is that simple. I know that you're thinking, I'm just going to eat all the time if I listen to my body because I'm always hungry. I'm always ready to eat. And so, and you're probably also thinking that I won't stop. Like I'll start eating, and if I don't measure out and know what portions are, I won't stop. I'll just keep going until I'm like sick or something. And that is merely a result of restrictive behaviors, restricting your calories and having that restrictive mindset. And that's how your body responds in that situation. That is a biological response to restriction. So it's not that your body is broken or can't be trusted. It's that your body is accustomed to a restrictive environment. And so once we lift that restriction, your body will tell you what you need and you can trust it. So what you might find too, like I said, your body's sending out constant hunger signals because it doesn't know when you're going to listen. It's, it's like Pavlov's dogs, right? They ring the bell and the dogs come running, and sometimes there's treats, sometimes there's not treats. The dogs come running every time because they don't know when there's going to be a treat, when there's not going to be a treat. There's no pattern to it. So they just go every time. And so that's what your body does. Like, let's just send out hunger signals all the time and we'll see, maybe she'll listen this time. Maybe she'll send us some food. So that's kind of what's going on right now. Okay. So in order to learn how to relearn how to trust your body and listen, first thing you need to do is explore, like, what are your hunger cues? Like, what does real hunger feel like? And I bet even now, sometimes when there's not real hunger happening. There's just sort of like, oh, I drove past my favorite restaurant, or, somebody was cooking some food that smelled good, or somebody, is in the office with cookies, and, so all these other cues that might make you think about eating, but those you realize aren't actual hunger. So what does hunger feel like? Like, really think about it. Make a note of it. It might feel like an emptiness in your stomach, and there might be a little bit of a weakness. You might get a little bit of a headache. You might feel like I'm not putting my thoughts together, or, thoughts of food are sort of disrupting my ability to focus at my job. What are the things, physical and otherwise, what are the things that signal to you, I'm hungry. This is real hunger and I need to eat. So, figure that out. And then maybe write those things down so that you can, refer to them and learn them and remember, like, okay, I know that real hunger feels like this, and so I'm having these desires to eat, and is it real hunger, or is it something else? So that's how you kind of use that information, like at the time when you're thinking about food, am I hungry, or is it something else? And then, start to get a sense of like, how often does this happen? Is it like 2 hours after you eat? Is it 3 hours? Is it 5 hours? Is it that you get really busy at work? Maybe, you have a kind of job where it really takes a lot of attention and focus, for hours, and you don't have time to think about food until you're absolutely starving, right? And then your body's just like, okay, that's it. Like, that's enough. I'm starving now, and you must feed me. Is it possible to, to eat before that happens, or to even pay attention? Like, yeah, maybe I am hungry. I'm kind of busy. I don't really have time to stop and eat a meal. Maybe there's something else you can do in that situation. But, recognizing like, gosh, regular hunger, not starving mode, but hunger is happening sooner. It's happening at this particular interval typically. And then you can kind of plan for it. Like, okay, I know I'm going to be hungry. I know I'm going to be in a meeting. Maybe I can, grab something to eat, inconspicuously during the meeting. Or, maybe I should grab a little something beforehand to sort of prevent it. Or maybe you just know you're going to be hungry during the meeting, not much you can do, but this information can potentially be really useful to you. So you really want to get a sense of like, what are your patterns? How often do you get hungry? And then, on the contrary, what are the things that sort of masquerade as hunger? What are the things that happen that cause you to think about eating that aren't true hunger? Maybe it's, when you're tired and, you need to pick me up, or you need to get up and move around a little bit, or maybe you need a little, maybe you need a little caffeine because you didn't get a lot of, enough sleep that night or something. Or that you're staying up late because you're studying or, trying to do something. Maybe it's when you get sad and you think about food, you think about comfort foods, maybe foods that you grew up with that, you kind of associate with a positive feeling. Or maybe when you're stressed, either at work or when you get home from work, and part of your sort of de-stressing involves food, maybe that's what's going on. And so find out what are your patterns that are not hunger related. What are your non-food hunger? What are your non-hunger, food cues? And, make a note of it. We'll get back to that a little bit in future videos, but it's always good to be aware of those things because, if you're not really hungry, then, most of the time, and this isn't a hard and fast rule, but most of the time you shouldn't eat when you're not hungry, right? You should eat when you're hungry. That's honoring your hunger, of course. So you really want to be on the lookout for those things and just be, intentional with your eating. I'm eating this cookie because I'm feeling stressed out right now. Okay, that's better than just eating the cookie and not putting that connection together, right? If it's not a daily pattern or regular pattern, it's not a big deal. But if that really is part of your regular pattern, then okay, maybe you need to call that out. You need to recognize it, and you need to figure out how to address your stress or your mood or whatever it is in a more healthy way that doesn't involve, eating when you're not hungry. Okay, so next, of course, you recognize your hunger. All right, I've got legitimate hunger going on. Then it's time to eat, of course. So part of building that trust back with your body is, paying attention, getting that signal, and then following through and eating. Not just saying like, oh, look, I'm hungry, but too bad, I'm busy, or I don't feel like eating, or it's not mealtime, or whatever the story is, and ignoring it. No, you've got to actually eat when you're hungry, and then your body will more consistently send hunger signals at the right time and not at the wrong time. Okay, so that's how you rebuild that trust with your body. Body sends signal, you respond, and then you've got communication going in both directions, and trust happening. Okay, so what happens when you don't eat when you're hungry? And you probably know this. If you ignore your hunger, besides this whole, lack of trust issue, right? Then your body doesn't feel that, doesn't know that you can be trusted to respond to those signals. And so then the signals are just going to get all messed up and, start coming at you more often. But also, you get hangry after a while, right? Like you can ignore it to a point until your body is like, that's it. Like, I cannot think anymore. Brain is starting to shut down. You might be getting a headache. You might just be getting, really cranky. You might start snapping at people. It doesn't necessarily mean like that you have a low blood sugar. It just means like, man, you're hungry. Your body needs food. And this is the only way to get your attention, right? Is to basically like shut down your normal processes to get the food. Like, stop what you're doing and feed me. And that's how your body, gets things done when you're not listening, basically. So then the other part is that, as you also probably know, when you're really hungry, you eat faster, right? Because it's kind of unpleasant when you're like starving, when you're sort of ravenous, right? So you eat faster to try to, make that feeling go away faster. The problem is it doesn't go away faster. So that communication between your stomach and your brain about, hunger and fullness take time. So it's going to take a good, roughly on average 20 minutes for your stomach to tell your brain, I'm full. And you're starving, you're ravenous, you scarf your food in like 5 or 10 minutes, right? Guess what? You still feel ravenous, right? You're still like, okay, I ate all this food and that's great, but I'm still hungry. So what else can I eat? And then you just grab whatever else is nearby. And then what happens, right? Eventually, you don't get full, you get stuffed. You get uncomfortably full, right? That's how that happens, is you eat too fast and the signal is too late and now you're uncomfortable. And that is, again, that's biology. Like you get, ravenous and your body wants you to eat really fast to get that feeling to go away. And then, the feeling isn't gone, so you keep eating, and then you're stuffed. So that's definitely part of the problem there. And the other potential piece to going long periods of time without eating, and this is like, more than 5 hours, is possibly it's not good for your metabolism. Possibly you're slowing your metabolism down. And then when you eat, your body tends to store fat, store more of your calories as fat for next time that you're in this situation and you're going long periods of time without eating, then your body's like, oh, now I've got some stores to work with. So that's kind of how your body responds, could potentially respond to long periods of time, awake and doing things without food. So you really, you're probably shooting yourself in the foot with that situation there. So you don't really want to get into that. So what you want to do is not only eat when you're hungry, but then the next level of it is to sort of rate your hunger, right? Like, how hungry are you? Okay, so you've identified it's time to eat. Great, I'm hungry. How hungry are you? And so there's a scale from, 0 is ravenous to 10 being painfully full. Where are you on that scale? And ideally, you want to aim for a 3. And 3 would be like, I'm ready to eat, I'm hungry, but it's not that urgent hunger. You don't have that sense of urgency. You just are ready to eat. that's where you want to be when you start your meal, okay? But, knowing how hungry you are helps you determine how much food you're going to eat, right? Or how much food you're going to get out. Like maybe you're just a little bit hungry, but a meal is not for, a while, or you've got a meeting or something. So you're like, all right, let me grab a little something to match my hunger level. If you don't take the time to figure out, well, I'm this hungry, then how do you decide how much to eat? It'd be great to just take a couple of bites and wait 20 minutes and reassess the situation there. But the reality is, we don't always have the time to figure out how full we are. Sometimes we just have to grab the thing and eat it up quick and then move on. And so the best, the best approach for that's not ideal, but that's life. And the best approach is to say, okay, well, how hungry am I? What do I need? And get that amount, and then eat it and move on. Okay, but if you're just like, oh, I'm hungry, let me eat my sandwich. And you're not hungry for a sandwich. You're hungry for a piece of fruit. You have to know that you have to find this out in order to take the right action. This all takes practice. Okay, so, the first step is figuring out, what does hunger feel like? What does, non-hunger cues, what are they for you? And then figure out how hungry you are, then eat, of course, and and start to rebuild that trust. So that's really what this piece is all about. And the next thing, of course, is respecting your fullness, of course. So we'll get to that in a future video, but that will be obviously the next important piece once you've started eating, figuring out when you're done. Okay, well, that's all for today. Thanks for watching.